like it's just lit. Like women's basketball, the game, how far it's come, the excitement, the attention. Maybe I'll start with you, Kels, because Lord Jesus, your team and their fans,
Jesus,
they be getting up in everybody's business.
Okay, so it finally happened. Someone in the Indiana Fever locker room had enough, and not just anyone. Kelsey Mitchell, one of the most respected and longest-standing members of the team, just called out the nonsense why. Because Cha Gum opened her mouth again, and this time she went way too far with her little jabs at Caitlin Clark.
Shanae she's a whole lot to take in. I mean, a little bit goes a long way. She's just really loud and really kind of obnoxious for lack of a better word. And I don't mean obnoxious like just people who are obnoxious and they're just insulting people all over the place and that kind of.
You know the type. She started with her usual sly sarcasm. Those kinds of comments that sound like jokes on the surface but are clearly meant to cut deeper. Well, Kelsey didn't laugh. She responded. And it wasn't just some weak PR response either. It was fierce. It was bold. It was personal. Mitchell stood tall, not just for Caitlin Clark, but for every player on the Fever's roster who's been dragged into this media circus only to have their integrity questioned.
Lord Jesus, your team and their fans,
Jesus,
they be getting up in everybody's business.
Hey, wait, I just noticed that. Your team and their fans, they be getting up in everybody's business. So not just the fans, but it's a dig on the team.
This wasn't just a teammate tossing a quick line of support. Kelsey came with receipts, clarity, and fire. Her message was loud and clear. You don't come for Caitlin Clark. You definitely don't disrespect the Indiana Fever family and their fans. And yes, this entire moment is absolutely going viral for all the right reasons.
Starting with you, Kels, and then going to B and NECA, how have you guys experienced? Is there like a moment that you think of when it comes to the explosion of the game and how it has changed the game?
It all started when Cha Ogum launched one of her infamous half-kidding zingers during a media segment. She tossed out a line dripping with condescension. Lord Jesus, your team and their fans, they be getting up in everybody's business. You know, the kind of comment meant to sound breezy, but it's clearly aimed at riling up Fever fans, and more specifically, trying to belittle Caitlin Clark's impact.
Notice how the question was phrased. Lord Jesus, your fans. Once again, pushing the narrative that there's something wrong with Indiana Fever fans. I don't like that has become the accepted belief about the Fever fans. But Kelsey Mitchell is a professional, and before long, well, she's going to kind of put them in their place in a way they didn't like, I'm sure.
But here's the thing. Fever fans have been showing up in record numbers. Clark has brought unmatched energy and national attention to the team. Yet rather than praise that growth, Cha chose to paint it as a nuisance. The undertone of her comment that Indiana and its supporters are somehow too loud, too bold, and too much for the league's liking. Let's be honest, this wasn't a neutral observation. This was a subtle attempt to push the tired narrative. The Caitlin's presence is somehow a burden rather than a boost to women's basketball. And that's where Kelsey Mitchell had.
Oh man, I think I've seen both sides of it. From one, like being on a team with like Caitlin and knowing that some of the stuff and the wave that she created for like as where the game is and what she's been a part of, like as far as this process.
When Kelsey got the chance to respond, she didn't hold back. She was poised calm, but you could hear the edge. In her voice, she didn't need to raise it. She didn't need to insult anyone. All she had to do was speak the truth, and wow, it hit hard.
And so much of it. And so I think for me lately was the shift in moments in Indiana period as far as like the arena where we started, and B was my vet, kinda, right? Kinda.
We up there, sis. We up there.
She was a Fever girl first, and so she also saw, and she's a vet too. They've seen what Indiana was, and I think now where it's at now, the big moment is seeing the shift and being a part of it from a standpoint of I know where Indiana was, and so to see the cultivation of it, you just grow to appreciate the process and the growth in which the game is going.
Cha tossed out a question clearly meant to avoid crediting Caitlin directly. She asked Kelsey if there was a moment this year when the rise of women's basketball became obvious. Clearly fishing for a diplomatic safe answer, but instead, Kelsey hit her with the truth. I think the rise of women's basketball has a lot to do with Caitlin Clark. Boom. Just like that.
There's the face. There's the face again. Okay? Now, let me get closer so you can see my face better. There's the face again. She's asking about the explosion of women's basketball, and Kelsey Mitchell doesn't waste any time to mention Caitlin Clark and what she has created. It's not what Janae wants to hear. It's not what the media, ESPN media, the WNBA, the old guard, it's not what they want to hear, because they're continuing to tell us that it's not Caitlin Clark who has created anything in the league.
The moment Kelsey said Caitlin's name, you could almost see Cha flinch, that polished media smile she wears so well, it slipped just a little. Because here's the reality. People like Cheney and the legacy media voices behind her, Elle Duncan, Monica McNutt, Cheryl Swoops, they've spent the last few months doing backflips trying to avoid giving Clark her due. Remember when one of them even admitted to the jealousy clip?
To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros, right?
They don't want to admit it because doing so means acknowledging that a rookie is currently the most important name in the WNBA, and that doesn't fit their narrative, so instead they push these weird coded messages about Clark's fans being too much, or her attention being overblown, or that she's not yet proven. But Kelsey wasn't having it. She stepped into that studio with a message for all of them.
This is only women that get this. I'm tired of it. Like, here's my thing, you guys. What else? Who are these girls? Who are these girls that are hating on Caitlin Clark? Are you just combing through Twitter? Stop acting like because you see some randos on Twitter knocking Caitlin Clark, all girls are...
Let's be real, Kelsey. Mitchell is no pushover. This is someone who's been grinding in this league long before Clark arrived. She's faced every kind of defense, every kind of media slight, and still managed to be one of the most consistent offensive weapons in the game. She didn't need to say anything about Caitlin Clark, but she chose to. That's leadership. The way she said it, too, firm, unapologetic, and rooted. In fact, sent shockwaves through the conversation. You could see it on Cha's face. The interview started with light-hearted banter. By the end, it was a masterclass in media judo. Every attempt to deflect or reframe Caitlin's impact was countered by Kelsey's honesty, and let's not forget how much Caitlin Clark has supported Kelsey Mitchell on and off the court. While the media spotlight's been locked on her, Caitlin used her platform to shout out her backcourt partner. She said, Kelsey should have been named Player of the Month on numerous times instead of her.
And I think for me, if I can give or drop any form of advice based off experiences, that all money is not good money. And I mean that literally. I've seen myself in situations where I had to figure out if I wanted to come back to Indy. I had to figure out what was best for me. I lost my parent. So it was like figuring out what I needed, and I'll figure out that you have to go where you're literally loved. And I mean that literally, and I mean that intentionally. Go where you're loved and not tolerated, because all money is not good money.
I felt like Kels probably should have got a little love. I honestly thought she probably should have been Player of the Month. Just what she was doing, and at the clip she was doing it, I think she was like 50, 40, 90 this month, which is really, really hard to do. So I feel very fortunate to play with her, and honestly, I'm not even trying to be corny. Like, I really think she deserved it. So I think sharing that with her, and I feel lucky to have, a kind of a backcourt mate that has been, through this for 7 years and has really helped me and kind of let me flourish.
I'm a fever girl again. I'm a fever girl. I'm excited. Kind of missed this court. Yeah, I'm a fever girl again. A lot of went into this decision based on what I needed for myself and for, obviously, for my family, my friends. And Indy is a second home, so I thought I'd give this.
First of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing Kelsey how important she is. The Indiana Fever.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So everything about Kelsey Mitchell is core, right? Core values, her core basketball, everything about her is what we're about. And so there was no way.
Just figure out where this program's going, what we're trying to accomplish.
And based on, the way in which I like to see myself playing, I can do that with people like Caitlin, people like AB, people like Liz. The list goes on with Lexi Hall, Grace Berger. So I'm excited about the group we have. I get to play alongside some really great people. So here's the Been a Fever Girl.
I'm excited about our future, but I would never change my past. I know what I had to do to get to this point, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Tosses ahead, Wheeler extra feet. Oh, that was pretty. What's the foul?
I'm very grateful to be one of the ones that, put the bricks down.
Mitchell finished top 10 in the league in scoring in 2020, 2021, again in 2022, for a fourth straight time in 2023, and you guessed it, top 10 in scoring in the 2024 season, and those big performances have become a staple of hers. Mitchell owns the top 3 highest scoring performances in Fever history. Mitchell ranks second all-time in franchise history in career points, field goals made, three-pointers made, and free throws. She's played in the 3rd most games in franchise history and is 4th all-time in career.
To the fans, I think you guys are a big part of my decision, a part of Indiana being home for me. The fans have also grown to be, family for me. So knowing what the atmosphere feels like, some of the love that was poured into me down the stretch of last year, I feel great about it. So I'm grateful. I'm definitely grateful.
Janae asked about the explosion. Somehow she didn't expect Kelsey to acknowledge the CC effect, the Caitlin Clark effect, especially after she started off by trying to be disrespectful, by being disrespectful to the Fever team and the fans. But Kelsey Mitchell kept it real, and I could sense that it was awkward. It was an awkward moment for her, because it was sort of like, Caitlin, like,